they bought the company for $8 billion, they're looking for a return. That return wants to be, in the neighborhood of $20 billion. We said MCP is the future. Ultimately, AI will be the new UI, and all of the functionality of Smartsheet will be available conversationally. The story for enterprise software companies is fundamentally, I think, really three core areas, Sascha. The first is, do you have context? Does your data provide value in a way that makes agents and human beings smarter in their capacity to do their work?
Hey everyone, before we are starting with the episode, I need to ask you for a small favor. Every week we are doing a lot of research to get you the best insights. Please support us. Hit the follow button, share the podcast with your friends. Thank you very much. And now, let's start with the episode. Hello everyone, today I have Rajeev Singh, the CEO of Smartsheet, with me today. Great to have you here.
Thanks, Sascha. Great to be here.
So, I think you once said, if this transformation moment weren't happening, I probably wouldn't be here. Does it mean like the AI wave is the only reason you took the job as CEO?
I took the job 9 months ago. It's not the only reason. It's not the only reason, Sascha, but it's a big reason. It's a big reason. I was the co-founder of a company called Concur a long time ago. I guess now almost 30 plus years ago, and then was the CEO of a startup called Accolade after that. Both companies were lucky enough to have some success. We took them public, we built them. Many people have asked me in the past, why are you back doing something new at this stage of your career? And I thought, this moment of technology transformation, AI, was just a wave that if you love building companies and if you love technology, I couldn't miss. And so it's a big part of the story. Now, the other part of the story is Smartsheet's a company with 100,000 customers and billions in revenues and a huge opportunity to actually take advantage of the AI wave. But yeah, that's a correct quote. I did say it. And I meant it. This is the most fun time ever to be building software, and I'm glad to be doing it.
You studied engineering, right?
That's
Back
right.
in the days.
Right.
Did the engineer ever left the room, or is it still with you at every meeting you're having?
It's still there. It's still there. I think engineering school gives you, whether you went to engineering school or you worked as an engineer building software, even if you didn't go to engineering school, it gives you a structural mode for how to solve problems. Starting with first principles and then working your way through a framework. And so that never changes. Now, my engineers would tell you at every company I've ever been at that I'm not really a software engineer. I'm a mechanical engineer, and they know how to build software. And I'm more of a product person in that regard. Like, I consider myself way more of a product management ilk than a engineering ilk as it relates to software companies. But no, the engineer never leaves the room. I feel like it's passed down to me from generations of engineers in my family.
Is it especially now the job at the CEO of Smartsheet that you can benefit from this engineering background, especially when it comes to project management and these kind of things?
100%, Sascha, 100%. I think partly Smartsheet is built to get work done. Which is fundamentally, engineering at its core is how do we move the world forward by building things. I think the second part of that story is, like, if you look at all the software, look at all the big software companies right now, founders are coming back to their companies because the product needs to be reinvented from the core. This isn't a moment of how do I operationalize things. It's a moment of how do I reinvent things. And that is at its core a product and engineering task. And so I think it is a moment for engineers and product people to rise to the forefront, right? I mean, you're starting companies all the time. You get it. Engineers are going faster than they ever have. Product people are rushing to catch up to engineers, which has never been that way. Yeah. That makes it a really exciting moment to be building.
And I think the struggle right now is really to catch up with all the information, right? Like, I mean, I see it all the time. The developers are building and building and building, and the thing is, how do you protocol what you have built, and how do you all put it together in a single output?
Yeah, Yeah, I mean, Sasha, I'm on two startup boards right now. One where I'm the executive chair and co-founder, and these companies that are starting from scratch are rewriting their code base,
Yeah.
full stop, rewriting their code base every 3 to 6 months, like because the changes to the frontier models are so significant that they think, oh, you know what? The cost of writing code is so much lower than it used to be. I'm just going to throw away what I wrote before and rewrite it. I mean, that's just mind-boggling to somebody who grew up in software for the last 30 years.
Yeah, absolutely. So maybe we can talk a little bit about Smartsheets, because I have actually a background in project management. So I did a lot of project management all across Germany. And to my days, we worked with Excel, maybe Microsoft projects. What makes Smartsheets different, like today? Like, how does it work with all the AI tools? Like, what's the benefit?
So Smartsheet at its core is a tool to get work done across systems of record. So you need to pull data from Workday, from Salesforce. Systems of record like Workday and Salesforce are great in their departments, but not great to get work done cross-functionally. Smartsheet solves that problem by linking together those systems of record and creating complex workflows and automations to get work done. That's the bottom line of what the software does. Now, traditionally, the software was built for a PM, a project manager or a program manager, like you mentioned, Sasha, who built their own automations, rules, and custom capabilities or workflows inside of Smartsheet. AI has changed the capacity for actually leveraging the tool. And one of the first bets we made when I joined the company 8 or 9 months ago was ultimately fully embracing MCP. We said MCP is the future. Ultimately, AI will be the new UI, and all of the functionality of Smartsheet will be available conversationally. And today, we're delivering it via Claude, via Copilot, via Gemini, and via ChatGPT. So it's not just for project managers anymore. If you can conversationally communicate, hey, I want to go get this, I want to go get my research data from Workday, I want to go get my customer data from Salesforce, and I want to go get my invoicing data from NetSuite, all via MCP, and I want Smartsheet to run a project in order to achieve the following tasks. You can do that conversationally, and you actually never have to open our software to get it done.
How do you see like the whole project management is moving over the next 5 years? I mean, it's even hard for me to catch up with all the LLMs, and I'm like really
Yeah, you're in it.
very deep in the industry.
Yeah. I think what's going to happen, one, the PMO function will get 10 times more powerful because it'll have 10 times the capability of more tools. Things like Smartsheet will be available to it in a very simple way. And Smartsheet's really deep, meaning we differentiate ourselves by being an enterprise grade, security, auditability, rollback capabilities, structured data sets, all that deliver context to an AI engine so it can be smarter about the decisions it makes. So your agents can be smarter about making decisions. That part of the story will make PMs more incredibly powerful. I think the flip of that is as well, you don't need to be a PM anymore to use the software. And so, somebody in marketing can say, I have a new pricing plan I want to roll out. They don't have to go to the PMO office to roll it out. They can use Smartsheet to go solve that problem on their own. Agents will become incredibly powerful PMs. And so PMs won't have to learn the LLMs. PMs are going to have to learn the tools, and they're going to have to empower agents to go deliver those tools.
Are you also with Smartsheets facilitating these agents?
100%. 100%. So if the first bet you place is MCP, you've placed a bet on agents, right? You're saying humans have been my customer forever. Humans will continue to be my customer, but I have to build a software so that agents can use it as well. And agents are going to use MCP to go to deal with my software. So Claude Cowork, or agents you build on your own. We don't care where the agents come from. We're building agents on behalf of our customers. But we do fundamentally believe that we can deliver a whole catalog of sub-agents. You want to do a risk analysis on your project? I've got one. I've got a risk analysis sub-agent for you. You want to do an executive summary? I've got an exec sum sub-agent for you. These sub-agents will be called by your orchestration agent. Either we can build that for you or you build it for yourself. The whole idea, though, Sascha, I think is open systems, no lock-in, give customers all the access to value. Not every software vendor is making that choice, but that's the choice we're making.
So you, as you said, you are open to all models, right? Is it Microsoft? Is it Google? Is it Anthropic? Have you ever thought about building your own LLM?
We've certainly experimented with open source LLMs. And right now we're kind of optimizing, Sascha, for speed. We want to deliver more and more software as fast as we can because we see the market moving really quickly and we want to be the leader. We've always been the leader. We want to continue to be. But we are experimenting with open source LLMs where we think price to performance is incredibly good. I think the other thing we'll do is as we find deeper moats around our context, we might choose to use open source around those particular context areas that we think are most valuable. But right now, to be honest, it's a moment for speed in my mind, and we're running as hard as we can. So that means we're kind of using some mix of Anthropic and in some cases, Amazon models where we're looking for lower cost.
It probably also has a lot to do with risk mitigation, right? Because I had it once with a new model from Anthropic coming out. None of my previous workflows worked anymore because they changed something how the LLM responded. And this change made all my workflows not working. Like, how do you deal with that?
You have to be incredibly thoughtful about embracing new models inside the software. And to be candid with you, Sascha, you don't need Fable or Sonnet 4.8 or, for everything you do. And so many of your tasks are simple enough that you can be using Haiku or you can be using, a simpler version of a model. And if that's the case and you're achieving your work, you don't need to upgrade every model every time. And so each task should be evaluated from a price to performance basis, and you shouldn't be upgrading all the time. You can't. If you're building enterprise software, we've got 4 million active users a day. We can't break. And so the software has to work every day because businesses run on it.
Do you operate on a global scale with Smartsheets? Like, where are your core markets? What is the core industries you're having? Or are you all across the board?
We work all across the board from an industry perspective, but there are some industries we're particularly successful in. But first, let me start with the geography question.
Yeah.
The company was founded in the United States in Seattle, Washington. Today, we do business, our core markets, Japan, Australia, UK, Germany, France, Scandinavia, which I'll call a market. And we intend to keep growing. Europe is going to be one of our biggest growth markets. And Germany specifically, for the purposes of our conversation today, Germany specifically is one of the markets we hope to grow in a significant amount over the course of the next 5 years.
Okay. And when it comes to the industries, I'm just thinking about, like, what is the main industry that your company is operating in? Is it energy? Is it automotive? Like, what's the core industries?
The industries with regulation, structure. So think about some of our biggest, most significant use cases: pharmaceuticals, life sciences, healthcare. Some of the biggest life sciences companies or healthcare companies, some of the biggest pharmaceutical companies in the world use our product to manage their entire new drug discovery process from end to end. We also have a very strong foothold in technology. In Germany, Bayer's a customer in the pharmaceutical space. Adidas is a customer and runs a lot of their sort of end-to-end workflows with us. But if you were to think about core focus areas, think government, think manufacturing, think life sciences and healthcare, and think technology. Those are some of the areas. If you're to look at the $1 billion plus of revenues we do, there's north of 30 or 40% of the revenues come from those sectors.
So you joined Smartsheet shortly after it was taken private again, right? For I think it was 8.4 billion. So
That's
is there
right.
anything Blackstone or Vista tell you what you need to tackle?
I think Blackstone and Vista are two really smart software investors. They're two really smart investors. And so, what are smart investors talking about right now? Same thing you and I are talking about, Sascha. You have to make your company relevant in the world of AI. All of us have been reading. It's a little overblown, but all of us have been reading about the end of enterprise software. So enterprise software is dead. It's the age of enterprise AI companies. And I think if you're to wipe aside the hyperbole of those statements, there's some truth to it. Companies that don't embrace not just plug in or sort of think about appending AI, but instead fundamentally rethink their software in the world of AI are dead. And that's very clearly one of the focus areas from Blackstone and Vista. Obviously, the other part of that story is how do you do that in a way that efficiently drives value? If they bought the company for $8 billion, they're looking for a return. That return wants to be, in the neighborhood of $20 billion. How do you drive profitable growth moving forward? And I think we're making great progress in that regard.
How do you, I mean, it was a great catch. Like, how do you really see the risk for software as a service provider in general? Because, I mean, every time a new model gets launched, many stocks are plummeting because
Yes.
there is a risk that they're getting obsolete. How
Right.
do you see the overall market?
When Cowork launched, right, the market lost $300 billion of value.
Yeah, it was insane.
It was nuts. And yet, if you use, I mean, I have a voracious appetite for using AI models. I use them constantly, and I try all of them, from Grok all the way through to OpenAI. We use Anthropic internally at Accolade, or excuse me, at Smartsheet. The story for enterprise software companies is fundamentally, I think, really three core areas, Sascha. The first is, do you have context? Does your data provide value in a way that makes agents and human beings smarter in their capacity to do their work? If your workflows or if the work you do is incredibly simple and easily accessible via LLMs, if that data set is easily accessible, meaning easy to accumulate and deliver by startups and LLMs, your business has a problem. Now, I think fortunately for Smartsheet, we have an incredibly unique data set and we can deliver that context. The second part of that story is, I think, what's referred to as proximity to intent. Are you close to the work getting done? When people think of work, do they think of you and do they choose your tool to go do that work? Again, Smartsheet checks that box. And then the last is, does your data set inform making work get smarter and smarter? Workflow orchestration, but workflow intelligence. If those three things are true, you have an opportunity to build a business. If any of those three things are not true, you better get to work on solving that problem. And there are plenty of enterprise software companies. I think specifically, Sascha, the ones I think have work to do right now are the ones who are very focused on small business. Because when you're focused on small business, you're typically focused on really simple workflows that can be deployed really easily and for low cost. That sounds like a recipe for an LLM. Like that's where Cowork is going to thrive. Complex, structured, regulated workflows, a little bit harder. I use LLMs constantly, as I started with this answer with, and you know what? Even today, Claude Cowork disappoints when you're trying to do contextually aware hard work. And so that's where enterprise software companies are supposed to play.
What's your favorite LLM right now?
Boy, I probably shouldn't answer that because they're all customers and all these guys are customers.
No, they are all great.
They're all fantastic. I am particularly focused on Gemini and Anthropic right now. Both that I think Anthropic more for my product and tech use cases. I'm in Claude Code looking at our lakehouse data of our customer data every day or often. And I'm doing that via AWS Bedrock, but Claude Code. So For product and tech use cases, I'm very, very Claude focused. For other business research and thought partnering, I'm using Gemini more and more.
Yeah. Yeah, I also try to be up to date with all 3 or 4, depending on how you count who is a Frontier Lab. But yeah, they are kind of similar. And even if not, they will bring out the next model, which is kind of similar to their competition. But
yes,
for me, it's always the question. I mean, especially now with Fable, the Fable launch, when it gets banned by the US government, how fast will we see that it generally gets restricted? That at some point we have just like, this is the level of LLM you get as the general public. Everything else is behind closed doors. Do you see that coming?
Well, Mythos was obviously like this first giant test case of what's going to happen. And, I think there's speculation about how much marketing that was versus how much actual reality that was. I think governments will get more and more involved in approving new models. That will be true. That just has to be true. If you look at the number of vulnerabilities that were exposed by Mythos, but that will continue to be exposed by new models, and financial institutions, so fintech particularly impacted, but highly regulated industry impacted, there has to be some mode, Sascha, there has to be some mode of protecting the public interest as new models outpace us. And I can't imagine anybody can do that but the government. And so I don't believe that most governments will be incented to restrict forever access to these models, but I think they will slow down the pace of innovation for the good of the public safety.
So where do you think, where do we stand right now when it comes to policies and regulation around AI? I mean, Europe is already having killing kind of innovation with the European AI Act. I think the US is more open than Europe, but I'm not sure like which way is the right one.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Europe has always been more conservative as it relates to data privacy, as it relates to model regulation now, and will always be that way. I shouldn't say always, who knows what the future is, but Europe has always been, and I think will likely continue to be, more public safety oriented as it relates to these types of things. The US, particularly in the current administration, is heavily leaned into innovation and winning the battle. And by the battle, in US terms, that's around chips, that's around power, and that's around models. And I think you're unlikely to see, at least in the current incarnation of the political environment in the United States, much more regulation happening there. I think you'll continue to see unfettered innovation.
But it's also great what kind of innovation is coming out of the US right now. I really love to seeing it. And we talked about it, like the startup scene and innovation, a little bit before we start the recording. Maybe we can tackle a little bit about your background, like what drives you, how did you get into the startup space?
Yeah. When we were talking before we started taping, it was fun to hear your story and the number of startups you're working on. So my first company, I started with my brother and a good friend of ours, Mike Hilton. We started that when I was 23. That was Concur. It was a travel and expense company that ended up being a global company. We did it for 20 plus years. And so it went from startup in my apartment to a public company to a sale to SAP, actually. The second company was another startup, but a US-based healthcare company that was, virtual medicine, so virtual primary care physicians, nurses, et cetera. I love building stuff. I think I'm old enough now to kind of know what I love to do. I love building products. The rest of the company building is also fun for me, but the best part of the story for me is building products. And so the Smartsheet opportunities we started at the outset, we talked about this, Sascha. I took it in large part because I believed, somebody needs to come rebuild this product for the new world. And what if you could do it with, north of $1 billion in revenues and hundreds of millions of dollars of profits and customers who you could experiment with? I'm here in New York right now, and I'm meeting with two of the largest fintech companies in the world in the next 24 hours. because they use our software and they want to build on our AI platform. And like that just is like, you have a bunch of tools. So long story short, I love building products. I love startups. This is not a startup, but it's a kind of a startup moment, and that's why I'm having fun.
This is like kind of a general observation right now. I think has never been a better time to build a startup than right now. Is it correct?
Yes. I mean, you got 3 going, man. Yes. First of all, the cost of writing code is as low as it's ever been, especially if you don't have a code base. Meaning, it's one thing to inherit 50 million lines of code or 10 million lines of code and then have to refactor and rebuild it. Like your pace of innovation is a little different there than it is if you're starting from zero. So that's part one. Part two, the models change so dramatically every few months that your capacity to build things you never thought you could build, it's extraordinary. And access to data, like MCP was a game changer for the industry because all of a sudden data became available to every software company, to the degree you're smart about how you did it. Like those factors in tandem, the access to the better models, access to more power. New chips are coming out now. Like the Google chip is going to drive cost of consumption way down, which is going to drive the power of the models way up. Yeah, all in, Sascha. Like this is just a great time. If you want to build a software company and we were talking about this before. If you really have the desire, if you got it in you to build a startup, not everyone does, but if you got it in you to build a startup, now's the time to do it.
How should you start? How should someone start who wants to say, yes, I'm all in, I want to build a software right now? Where would you start?
I think first you got to know something, man. My last company was funded by Andreessen Horowitz, and Ben Horowitz said something to me when we actually did the first funding round. He said, great founders know a secret that nobody else knows. And when they know that secret, they go build their company around that secret. And so I think the best companies are founded around this problem you have that no one else has solved, that you've been trying to solve for yourself. Like the company we founded, Artie Sameti's CEO of a company called Scala that I'm the exec chair of. We worked together. He was the head of product management. I was CEO of the company. We worked together to try to find an AI answer to a problem. We couldn't find it. So when we sold Accolade, we said, let's go build that company. Let's go build that. Let's go answer that question. And so I'd start with the question, what burning problem do you know exists that hasn't been solved? Don't build a company just to build a company. Build a company to solve a problem, and then do it the way that abides by your code.
Yeah, we see also like a lot of one-person companies right now because especially in the beginning, you don't need the workforce. Like, how do you see the workforce shifting then the next 5 years?
I might be a contrarian on this one, Sascha. I think you can get away with one person, and everyone's talking about the 10x engineer who can write 10x more code. I think senior engineers can write a lot more code than they used to. But once you start servicing customers and once you start delivering value and customers have requests, and then you got to, especially if you're in the enterprise software business, you got to support those customers, you're going to need engineers. I do believe the employment environment will flatten out a little bit, but I think this universe of like all the jobs are going to go away is a little bit overblown. I mean, I know what's happening in my business. We have 3,000 employees. We're probably not growing headcount as fast as we might have in the past, but I don't see a universe where I'm going to cut the workforce by a half. Like we're seeing, we saw Block do it. We saw other companies out there cut their workforces dramatically. I honestly believe that's less about AI and more about cost cutting for those businesses. The appetite for great engineers will continue to exist moving forward. And we're going to still need people to build things and to support customers. In the consumer space, that might be a little bit different, and maybe you can get by with lighter engineering staff. But in the enterprise space, I don't see it.
Yeah, there was also like a few funny press statements the last few weeks where bigger companies are hiring again because the token costs exceeded the engineer costs.
Yeah, like it's true. We've all heard about token maxing and the AI slop. We will find over time that that the return on investment for AI, as it starts to get measured, wasn't quite what we thought it was in the last couple of years. The next couple of years, it will start to turn in the right direction because business will be savvy enough to understand how to measure it. It's one of the things we're doing for our customers at Smartsheet is helping them measure the AI projects that are happening inside their business by linking together their financial systems and their systems of work to get that to actually do that measurement. I think the reality is, Sascha, we're going to look back on the last couple of years as a couple of years of experimentation. Everybody just went wild.
Yeah.
And you and I did too. But like I spend more time. I flew all night. I was on a red eye to get here to New York today, and I was screwing around with Claude, working on different components of our product story, because it still blows my mind every day what I can do there. And so,
Yeah.
the last 2 years we're gonna look back on it as years of experimentation. The next 3 or 4 years will be years of significant return.
Yeah, that's also what I think the companies are experiencing right now. They're experimenting, and that's kind of the issue as well. I mean, especially in Germany, you have a lot of mid-sized company, the German Mittelstand, and many of them do not really know how to implement AI into their existing models. So what they are doing is they are just switching on an LLM for their employees. So now you can use OpenAI or Anthropic or whatever, and they are hoping for a fast return. But this is not how it's working, right?
It's not how it works. I mean, you can improve individual productivity, Sascha. Like you and I can be smarter using an LLM. I know for a fact that I was telling a friend the other day, I can read deep engineering papers that I could not read 5 years ago now by partnering with my eyes with the paper and with Claude to help me translate things into my own vernacular or my own terminology. Getting teams to be more productive, getting organizations to be more productive requires the capacity to leverage the LLM, but with governance, with collaboration capabilities, and with context. And that, to me, is the Smartsheet story. Like, our job is to help companies understand the LLM can make you more productive individually. The LLM plus Smartsheet can make you more productive as a company. And that's why our embrace of MCP, our embrace of these models inside the software is all built around that idea. How do I take all of the governance and auditability of our software, all of the context of our software, and deliver it to companies and say, this is how you make AI productive?
I mean, it all starts with the data, right?
100%.
I mean, many of the companies first need to get their data right. It's just not every time, but very often it's very chaotic. Working in different kind of
Yes.
storage, cloud. It's really, really chaotic in these companies. They need to get their data right, and then they can think about an AI strategy. And that's most of the time needs to happen top down.
Yes.
In my opinion.
Yeah, Sascha, it's a moment for engineers to run companies or to have. Your point around data is so spot on, but most CEOs, I don't think, know that their data is a mess. They hear the complaints like, it's hard to get access to the data, or I don't have a single source of truth for this, and they say, IT, go fix that problem. But what really needs to happen, and look, you're certainly seeing it. Companies like Databricks and Snowflake are exploding.
Yeah.
Most companies are figuring it out now, but it's maybe slower. People are less apt to understand until you invest in a Databricks or a Snowflake. You're going to have a hard time actually leveraging the full value or the power of AI.
Yeah, that's true as well. So maybe a few words about you personally. You said you are also in a few boards. Like, what other companies are you involved right now?
A company called Scala that it really thinks about reinventing customer experience for contact centers. It's essentially, how do we turn all of the data that powers the contact center into a proactive means of driving a better customer experience? I co-founded that company with a guy named Artie Samedi, who's the CEO. They're cranking away. They just raised their seed round and from Madrona and Fuse in Seattle, and they're on their first set of, I think they've got about 10 customers and a couple, and growing. And then a company called Basalt. It's a healthcare company. I was in the healthcare space for 10 years. Founder's a guy by the name of Ben Hackett. I'm on his board. I'm an investor in the company. And what they're doing is leveraging AI to make doctors more productive by summarizing all of the different sources of data and delivering them to doctors so they can deliver better care. All of it's really built, or either one of these solutions is built around how do I take AI and leverage the data that exists to make operations more effective.
Yeah, I think especially pharma and medicine is like one of the most important cases for AI.
Oh yeah, I mean, think about it right now, Sasha. Like Mustafa Suleyman, the DeepMind founder, wrote a book called The Coming Wave probably a year or two ago, and he talked about the advancement of models, protein folding, sort of the advancement of protein, the advancement around gene altering or gene coding, and robotics. Like these 4 waves are fundamentally going to change the entirety of the world, the universe that we live in. But 2 of those are directly healthcare related, and they're very correlated to AI.
And it's moving so fast. I personally built me a whole supplement stack for longevity together with my AI, going through all my blood results and everything. And imagine that 2 years ago it would be impossible.
100%. I do the same thing. That's very funny you do that. I do the same thing. For about 2 months, I recorded everything that I ate and then got a bunch of blood tests, put it in, and then started building my own stack with my doc. But started building.
Me too. I was sending.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was sending my doctor a list of blood tests I need to do, and I got a phone call. Why? Like, where did you get it from?
That exact same thing happened to me. I found I was asking for stuff, and she was like, I don't even know what you're talking about. I have to go do research to find out what you're talking about. Yes, that's true. I hope she's not listening, because I thought, I wonder if I need a new doctor.
Yeah, but I think like it's so powerful. Like I think the biggest mistake you can do right now is dying within the next 20 years. I think when you can make it past these 20 years, the chance that you're extending your lifetime is very, very high.
It's very high. It's very high. I agree with you. I think the advancements with AI and with the sort of the things I already mentioned, will extend lifespans significantly. We'll cure a lot of cancers. We're already making great progress on things like childhood disease, leukemia. You're right. Try to stay alive 20 years.
Yeah, working on that. So what would you tell a founder today? I mean, I think you said once speed beats data. But on the other end with Smartsheet, your thesis is data is beating speed. Like, how does that fit together?
I'm a CEO, man. Just like you're a founder, you get it. Like, I preach speed every day because the world is moving really, really fast. And especially when your company gets to like 2,000 or 3,000 employees, you start to get too many committees. You have too many people who want to meet about stuff, and you just have to preach, like, make decisions. The point around speed beats data is really more decisions beat indecision every day. There's almost nothing you can do to kill the company with one bad decision, but a whole bunch of indecision will kill a company. Now, on the point of data, as it relates to what Smartsheet does, look, projects are run in these moments between departments where we're not sure who gets to make the decision, where we're unaware of the context of what's happening in that department or in this group. Smartsheet has seen, we run 180 million automations a month for our customers. Like that's 180 million workflows. All of that knowledge of what has worked, which resource constraints are going to kill your project, what dependency is going to delay things and cost you $100 million down the road. Those are things we've seen in our software, and we should be able to deliver that to our customer agentically. We got to be able to deliver it to their agents or the humans, and that's exactly what we're building.
You've hired from many companies, I think, right now. Like, what is the traits you're looking for when you are hiring new employees?
Right now,
Yeah, right now.
Curiosity. You got to be curious. I ask people every time when I interview them, what are you reading? And like, what are you listening to? What are you reading? What's the last great book or article you read about the advancement of AI? I want curiosity. Like, this world is different than the world was 2 years ago. And if you're just trying to do what you did 2 years ago, you're going to kill us. And so I don't want people who are comfortable. And then you got to, I interview for relentlessness. I like to meet people who have been through failure and then gutted through it and got it to the other side. And that's startup life. I think startup founders or people who have lived in the startup world understand that a lot of days you wake up and the world is kicking your ass, and you got to fight through it and get to the other side. And so I look for relentlessness, diligence, like the capacity to work, and I look for curiosity.
So what would you say to someone who is studying right now or who is going to study soon? Like, what topics should they focus on?
I still think engineering is a great field. One of the things I think the world requires is the capacity to continue to debate. Like, you and I are having a conversation, and if we were sitting over a beer, we'd have a chat and there would be things we disagreed on. And that disagreement is good for the universe because it actually progresses, pushes ideas forward. The framework about that debate I think there's a lot of sort of engineering framework about framing a hypothesis, proving the hypothesis, and actually delivering value. How many times do you use an AI model right now, Sascha, and it tells you how smart you are? Oh, that's a great question, Sascha. Thank you. That was so smart. Like, I can't believe the world's going to need the capacity to think and to disagree. And like, AI models are fundamentally revenue driven, right? And so they want you to keep coming back. They want you to like them. In business, we don't need people to like us. We need our customers to like us. But inside the business, we don't need people to like us. We need to have the right idea, and that right idea needs to progress. So you could study philosophy. You could study engineering. Everybody's going to be an engineer now, right? Like, everyone's going to be able to write code. And if that's true, like, study the capacity to build a framework, create a hypothesis, and actually question and value the other people's hypotheses. That's what we need to do now. Machines are going to do a lot of the rest. We still have to do that.
Are we losing that a little bit right now? The ability to talk to each other, to discuss? Because, I mean, that's kind of what I'm seeing, especially with the younger generation. I mean, we are both also not that old, but with the younger generation, with the social media going on, a lot of the communication is digital. It's not like face to face like it used to be. Are we losing the plot here a little bit?
Yes, we are. Yes, that's the bottom line. I don't want to be negative, or I don't want to be pessimistic, but the capacity to actually communicate with each other. Look, the political environment across the world is polarizing and confrontational versus philosophical and debate oriented, and that extends. But I think if you're building a company, man, like, this is why I love building companies. If you're building a company, you get to pick the culture you want inside. You get to decide, are people going to come to the office and actually show up and meet each other every day? Are you going to build a culture that's collaborative and that it welcomes new ideas and that welcomes that diversity, that has debate, and that doesn't just sort of pick a lane because, like, via some ideology? We have a chance to impact how the world behaves by what we build.
If someone looks at Smartsheet 1 year from now, what would he see on the platform, what he would not see today?
One, you would see that agents are driving the majority of our workflows. And so everything that used to be done in a hands-on keyboard configuring the software. Our implementation will be deliverable. So if you want to configure your own complex workflow and build an agent, you can do that in you'll be able to do that in Smartsheet without having to talk to a professional services person from Smartsheet. That'll be new. If you want to instrument a brand new workflow and connect to 200, 300 data sources, you'll be able to do that on your own without talking to anyone at Smartsheet. That'll be new. And finally, we'll keep building underneath the hood capabilities, meaning via and exposing them via our APIs and MCP for more power to be in your hands conversationally. You'll see a visualization engine as well, so that you can speak to the software from your LLM and then see the workflow visualized right in that LLM, and that's something you'll see from us as well.
So you keep on adding AI features to the product.
Yeah, I mean, Sasha, the future of our company, the future of every company, is agents are going to be using your software, and so you have to build for agents. You have to build for humans, but we've been building for humans for 20 years. We know how to do that at Smartsheet. Building for agents and how agents are going to use your software and how much more effective they're going to be using your software and how much more they're going to demand of your software. Like, that's the future. And it may be a hybrid world for a while, but the bottom line is that's the future.
How do you see like the current state of the economy? I mean, there's a lot of debate if is AI in bubble or is it not a bubble? But obviously the market moves in cycles, right? But I don't see a bubble yet because there is still so much going on and so much things to improve. I don't really see that argument.
Yeah, there's a lot of room. Here's what's happened up to now. Like, I wouldn't call it a bubble. So I agree with your point around a bubble. Here's what's happened up to now, though. Huge swaths of the industry of industry have dropped in value dramatically. Let's call enterprise software one of those categories. Yeah. Now that has to happen. There's a finite amount of capital in the world, and if it's all rushing to the AI companies who are now worth hundreds of billions of dollars, then that capital has to come from somewhere. And obviously semiconductor companies are way up. Like, these companies that are sort of powering this new wave are way up. Now, the market sort of writ large just wrote off one whole sector of software. And what will happen is some of those companies will come back up to the top. Why? Because they're growing, because they deliver value in the world of AI, and they're very relevant, and they will continue to be very relevant. Some of those companies will go to zero. And so instead of all of them going down, some will go up and some will go all the way down. That will shake itself out over the course of the next 2, 3, 5 years. And when it does, there'll be a return to some normalcy. Right now, the market just moves in waves, and the wave is invest in AI, invest in power, invest in semiconductors, et cetera, and everything else has to suffer.
What's your prediction for the economy? I think Musk said 10x the economy till, don't get me wrong, I think he said till the next 20 years or something. Don't remember the number.
I don't remember the number either, but that sounds very much like Elon Musk. I think I'm optimistic about the economic growth rate. I am. I don't, I'm not an economist, man. I don't know. Is the world GDP going to grow by 2% or 1% or 3%? I don't know. I do think that economic growth will continue, especially as we start to see, like, AI hasn't been harnessed in a way that delivers economic value for enterprises, right? Like, that's a giant unlock of the economy. When it really happens organizationally and corporate wide, which is something we're working really hard on at Smartsheet, I think that's going to deliver an enormous amount of value from a GDP perspective. Now, the follow-on question, though, that you've already asked, Sascha, is like, what's that do to the unemployment rate? Does the unemployment rate go up or does it come down? I think it goes up, but I don't think it goes up quite as much as everyone's thinking. But like I said, I'm a software company's entrepreneur, not an economist, but that's my guess.
So with Smartsheet, you are serving a lot of different kind of industries. We talked about that before. What do you think? Like, what industry will see the biggest growth?
Uh, I think you're going to see healthcare companies grow like crazy. Life sciences, pharma, biotech, like those companies are going to grow like crazy. Like there's just so much room. To the point of our conversation earlier, there's so much room for innovation. And we do really well in that sector, and we continue to lean into it. Uh, I think some technology companies are going to win big. Those companies that really lean into the AI story and lean into their data and the value, the value or the moat of that data. Uh, I think really interestingly, service companies, Sasha, like if you think about service companies where the margins of those businesses have been 20 to 30%, the gross margins of that business in the 40s, those businesses, you're going to see gross margins go up to, into the 70s, probably, it's certainly into the 60s, maybe into the 70s. That will be extraordinary in terms of return to their shareholders. And so those are in my mind, three of the big winners that will happen in the economy soon.
I had an interesting analogy from another guest a few episodes back. He said the application layer will always win. And he said, think about the time refrigerators get out there. It was not like the people who build them who get rich. It was the people or the companies who are using them, like Coca-Cola. It was the
Right.
perfect application for the refrigerator.
Yes. I I think that's correct. I do. I think I would the addendum to that point is the application layer will continue to be relevant if the data that's delivered by that application layer is unique and differentiated and accessible from a contextual perspective in the right moments. If those things aren't true, the application layer will become less important. And so I understand the point of your previous guest. Building applications is just getting easier, man. It's just easier to build stuff. And if that's true, if the cost of writing code is low, then the output of that code and the customers you've acquired and the data that those customers create is your moat. That is your value. And every company has some slide. Every big software company has a slide. So they got 20 petabytes of data, and I got 20 years of history, all that. The next question is like, okay, well, what do you know about the universe that nobody else knows? Because if your data is largely generic and meaningless, you got a problem.
Yeah, definitely. Is there anything we need to talk about what we haven't talked about yet?
I don't know, man. This has been a fun conversation. It's gone by really quickly. I think we've covered a lot. We're really excited about your audience. Like the market in Germany is a place we really, really want to grow. I intend to spend a bunch of time there. I'm quite a big fan. Well, actually, I'm going to be there for Oktoberfest this year. So
let me know. I'm not far away from Munich.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I will let you know for sure. Actually, I will let you know for sure. I think we're going to be there that first week. We're going to have a little corporate tent there. So we should have a pint together for sure.
Yeah. Let me ask one more question, because this is a question I ask every guest. What's your wildest prediction for the next 20 years? And I know that's a tough one, because with all the stuff going on right now and how fast things are moving, it's really hard to make a good guess. But what's your wildest prediction?
Two things. I think we'll start to see tangible improvements in lifespan, which we talked about earlier. And keep in mind, lifespan in the United States is going down right now. It's gone down, and that's a different problem. But I think you'll see the lifespan start to increase again. Number one, and number two, I think economic growth will be all-time high 20 years from now. Like we'll be growing faster than we are right now, which will be hopefully extraordinary for the world around us.
It's exciting times. Data centers in space, huh?
Yes, data centers in space, man. Data centers in space, new chips, power from everywhere. It's going to be amazing. But I am optimistic, just like you are. Like you don't start companies and build stuff if you're not optimistic in some way, shape, or form. It's inherent in the actual premise of starting something that you believe you can finish it, and that's going to take time. So I'm optimistic like you are, man. But I appreciate you having me on today.
Thank you very much. I think that's it for now. Great closing.
Thank you.